And yes, indeed, we are in conversation with myself, Shafiq Morton. And of course, you want to carry on the conversation. 0829 913 913 is the WhatsApp line. We are now going to have a look at UK moon wars, United Kingdom moon wars, a historical perspective of the Islamic lunar month. These are battles that we've fought and basically won at the Cape, but in other parts of the world, the Islamic landscape is still being shaped. Online is Imad Ahmad, a PhD candidate from the Faculty of Divinity at the University of Cambridge. His other degrees he got at Oxford. But he's going to be talking to us about his PhD research investigating the Islamic lunar month and crescent observation. Imad Ahmad, assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Voice of the Cape in conversation with.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakat. I'm with you here from London all the way to Cape Town, and I'm so pleased to be on such a wonderful community radio station that I've known about for many years.
Oh, that certainly is very encouraging to hear. And of course, you are, in every sense of the word, or have grasped the nettle. How does your hand feel having grasped it on this issue of Islamic lunar crescent observation and how we fashion our months?
Can I give you a bit of my history of involvement in this topic? Because it is very relevant to your listeners in Cape Town. Now, in the UK, you've mentioned me grasping the nettle, but actually it's always been painful because Muslims have been divided when it comes to the dates for Ramadan and Eid. It's perfectly normal in the UK to have the same town, even the same road, even the same family, husband and wife, begin their Ramadan dates or celebrate Eid on different dates. And this has caused a lot of division in the community. I've seen people in physical fights over this topic on videos. I've heard of imams. I personally know of imams who were sacked from the masjid because they said they disagreed with the masjid committee's decision about the Ramadan or Eid dates. And somebody even told me they've heard of divorces. But when they told me that, I said, no, they probably had other problems as well. It can't just be the moon. But as you can see, what I'm trying to illustrate, it's been a very painful topic. And we in the UK were told by many people two separate things. One, we can never have unity in the UK because we're a Muslim minority. We just have to suck it up. We have to take these divisions as part of living as minority Muslims. And a second reason we were told is that the UK is too cloudy to see the moon. But in 2015, brother Shafiq, I came on holiday with my family to Cape Town, just a family holiday. And when I came to Cape Town, I learned of your tradition of I think you call them the maankijkers. And
maankijkers, yes, moon watchers. Yeah, it's a literal translation of it.
The moon watchers. And I saw that you go down to Three Anchors Bay, and for Ramadan and Eid especially, that you can have a very large crowd. The particular thing I saw was people doing iftar on the beach. And I was just amazed because we don't have this tradition in the UK. And secondly, I was amazed that you also were a Muslim minority, just like us, but you appear to have this tradition of moon sighting and a united Eid in Cape Town, or perhaps in South Africa more widely. And I was totally inspired. And I asked myself, why couldn't we have this in the UK? And with that in mind, I began an organization called New Crescent Society, absolutely and 100% inspired by Cape Town, to try and revive the sunnah of moon sighting in the UK. And when we began, we were told that it's too cloudy in the UK. And because it's too cloudy, that's why there's a division. One mosque will follow Saudi. One mosque will follow Morocco, being our closest Muslim country. But nobody in the UK was looking into our own horizon. And you know, brother Shafiq, as we started to look, we found it's not that cloudy.
Yes.
You just need to have a number of locations. I'm sure, for example, in Cape Town, it might be cloudy one month. But if you go down to the coast to another part of the Western Cape, you might see it, not even very far from Cape Town. Similarly, in the UK, we might not see it in London, but just outside of London, or Birmingham, or Cambridge, someone will see the crescent. But we need to work together. And once we do work together, we can have a perfectly viable local moon sighting calendar as has always been the sunnah of the Muslims in the historic ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yes, indeed. In fact, you know, the whole moon thing is a passion of mine as well, because every year I actually compile a lunar calendar, and every year I have to look at the data of crescent observation, the lag time, luminosity of the moon. It gets quite technical, but it's really a joy, an absolute joy to do it, knowing that the majority of Muslims in the Western Cape Town, for which I do, but across the country, are going to be listening to the crescent observers. There are some people who disagree. They're welcome to. That's not a problem. But the vast majority of Muslims in South Africa, as you correctly say in your observation, are quite happy with the lunar observations. And out of it comes a great joy. And people socialize, as I say, at Cape Town, at 3 Anchor Bay. And I've always found that, personally, to be a very unique occasion. And it creates so much community. And people forget about their differences because they're enjoying themselves on the Sea Point lawns, or because they're looking into the skies. There's everything to gain, isn't there?
Absolutely. And this is what we have been missing, actually, in the UK. Because we've disconnected from that sunnah of looking at the moon. And do you know, Brother Shafiq, the word for moon, crescent moon in Arabic, is hilal. And hilal in Arabic, of course, means crescent moon. It means a flash of light. But it also means to scream or to shout out in joy. And there's another Arabic word for your Arabic listeners, they'll know it. It's tahleel, which means to say la ilaha illallah, or to say out loud a praise of Allah, hilal. But if we take it back even further to a Hebrew root word, it comes from the same word, halala, the same root, and it's related to the word hallelujah, to scream and to shout out in joy for Yahuwah, or who we call Allah. So this idea of you look at the crescent, you feel so much joy that you want to shout out, it's something that people in the UK are for the first time experiencing for the last few years. And I've seen people cry tears of joy when they see the hilal of Ramadan, cry tears of joy when they see the hilal of Shawwal, which ends the month of Ramadan, because they feel absolutely connected to the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who taught us, "Sumu li ru'yatihi," fast when you see that crescent, wa aftiru li ru'yatihi, and do conclude your fasting of the month of Ramadan when you see the crescent again. And I'm urging everybody listening in Cape Town, because I was inspired by your tradition, please do not let this tradition go, because this moment that you have with Allah's creation, we were starved of it in the UK. And now that we have it, we never want to let it go. So we want to thank everybody doing the hard work for hundreds of years in Cape Town. I had the pleasure of meeting Imam Yusuf Pandor, who is, of course, involved in the Moonsighting yourself. We spoke a few years ago on a podcast, and just to extend my gratitude and admiration for all of the work happening in South Africa and Cape Town, the Cape Malay community in particular, who have been upholding this tradition for hundreds of years in the Western Cape.
Imad, we're going to go for a quick market break. When we come back, we're going to wrap all of this up, because I think there are still one or two things that we must discuss. And of course, it is in conversation with our special guest, Imad Ahmad, PhD candidate from the Faculty of Divinity at the University of Cambridge, but more pertinently, talking about crescent observation. That's the subject of his PhD. So stay with us, everybody. We'll be back after this. And yes, indeed, welcome back to In a Conversation with our special guest, Imad Ahmad, PhD candidate from the Faculty of Divinity at the University of Cambridge, and he's focusing on historical perspectives of the Islamic lunar month, lunar calendar. Imad, welcome back. And before the break, you spoke about the fact that doing crescent observation, that there's a divine connection there. Would you agree that this connection is important, particularly, excuse me, due to the fact that we live in urbanized societies? We're not very much in contact with nature and, by extension, the creation of Allah, the highest. And crescent observation is a nice way to connect to the divine.
Without a doubt, and I wouldn't say it's just a nice way, it's an essential way located in many of the rhythms that Islam teaches us. Our prayer times are related to nature. They are based on the sun. Our fasting time is based on nature. It's based on sighting the moon. And not so much today because we have Google Maps. But in the past, certainly, Muslims were orienting themselves using the stars to find the Qibla. And even if you look to the Quran, there's an ayah of the Quran where Allah addresses the Prophet ﷺ saying, we see you looking up at the heavens, seeking the Qibla. And some of the Mufassirin say that this ayah, I believe in Surah Baqarah, refers to the Prophet ﷺ using stars to find the Qibla. And the more and more we live in this urban environment, the more we live in modernity and move disconnected to nature, I believe it has a psychological, spiritual effect whereby we move one step away from Allah's creation and the Creator, the Almighty Himself. And indeed, this is part of my PhD research.
Indeed, I mean, looking at the sky is just an overwhelming experience because the sky, it's alive. I can remember once in the desert of Namibia, in a very desolate place, looking up at the Milky Way and actually getting a fright because it was three-dimensional. It was actually alive, which it is. But seeing it for the first time was a completely overwhelming experience. And this is what the skies are about. And I'm pretty sure you'll agree, this is why our forefathers were so keen on looking at the skies and why our salah times are judged by the sun and our months are judged by the moon. It's there for a purpose.
It's there for a purpose. And we have people who are not Muslims who come to our moon sightings as well. And when they look at what we're doing, they also find a way to connect back. They may not call it Allah. They'll say, wow, I feel connected to the universe. Wow, I feel connected to the earth. They feel connected to something. And this is the programming within every human, the fitrah, that when we look at Allah's creation, nature itself, whether it's a tree or a field or the sea, as you are in Cape Town, you're very close to the ocean, or to look at the sky, there's something that happens within us. And this is seen in modern science as well. Those people who suffer from nervous system issues or trauma, they're often advised, go and sit next to the sea, go and sit next to the river, it will heal your body. Because something within our bodies, Allah says we are created from water, we're created from clay. When we connect to nature, Allah's nature, it reconnects our earth and allows for some kind of healing. So even from the scientific perspective, we're finding this as well, let alone the spiritual.
No, absolutely. I mean, it certainly is a very interesting topic, and I'm glad we have the chance to discuss these things. Of course, you talk about water, and again, the water and the tides relate to the phases of the moon. I mean, just the day before yesterday, before they went to sight the moon in Cape Town, there were extra low tides and high tides because the moon had just been born. And there again, you have another relation to the skies, to the creation, everything being completely interlinked.
Completely interlinked. And in fact, the dua for seeing the moon is the beginning of the dua, Allahumma ahillahu alayna bil amni wal iman, to the end. But at the end, we look at the moon and we say to the moon, Rabbi wa Rabbuka Allah. Your Lord, O moon, and my Lord is Allah. Meaning the one who's looking after you, the one who's controlling your phases, the one who's controlling your movement, is the same one who's looking after me and my phases in my life and my movement. It elicits a sense of tawakkul, but also that there is some deep connection between us as humans and the moon. That is, the moon is somehow found within me, and I am somehow found within the moon, because both of us, we have the same Lord, Allah, and this is an aspect of Tawheed.
100%. Unfortunately, Imad, we have to leave it there. Imad Ahmad, PhD candidate from the Faculty of Divinity at the University of Cambridge, dealing with matters lunar. And Imad, we wish you everything of the best for Ramadan in your part of the world. Our days are becoming longer and your days are becoming shorter, yet one more of the signs we've been discussing. But shukran, it's been an honor chatting to you.
Thank you so much, and assalamu alaikum. And to everybody in Cape Town, please keep up this practice. We have been inspired by you here in London and in the UK more broadly.
Wa alaikum salam.